The sky above Idon Prime cracked open like glass under pressure. First came the silence, an unnatural stillness that settled over the colony like a held breath. Then came the shadow, massive and featureless. The Jaitil warship blotted out Idon's twin suns as it descended over Ridge Sector. Commander Ray Solon stood on the observation deck of Outpost Helix, her daughter Illyra tugging at her sleeve, asking what was happening. Ray didn't have an answer. Not yet. Then the alarms shrieked. Explosions lit the horizon. Plasma rounds the size of starliners rained down with pinpoint precision, obliterating power grids, water facilities, and refugee housing. Hospitals weren't spared. Neither were schools. The attack wasn't strategic. It was vengeful. Within minutes, the civilian feed cut out, overridden by the face of Warlord Verkar. Towering, scaled, and draped in armor forged from asteroid ore, his grin revealed rows of jagged obsidian teeth. Greater than to the fragile mammals who mistake chaos for strength. Know this. The Accord is no longer your shield. You were given a place among the stars, and you poisoned it with your sentimentality. Now you are corrected. He laughed as the feed dissolved into screams. Ray grabbed Illyra and ran, but they never made it to the emergency vault. An energy blast ripped through the corridor, throwing Ray into a wall. She opened her eyes just in time to see her daughter crushed beneath debris, her small hand reaching. Trembling, still. She didn't scream. Not then. 3 hours later, Ray was pulled from the rubble, barely breathing. Around her, ash drifted like snow. The colony, once home to 12 million people, was gone. Bodies littered the ground. Some still burned. The Galactic Accord's response was swift. In paperwork. Condemnations. Investigations. Pleas for calm. Verkar's forces suffered no consequences. Humanity's diplomats begged for justice. The Accord replied with bureaucracy. Back on Earth, billions watched Ray Solon's emergency transmission. Her face was half-burned, one eye swollen shut, blood crusting her lips. But her voice, cut through every language barrier. Greater than, they think we are weak because we feel, because we love, because we grieve. Let them think it. Let them remember it. We are not diplomats anymore. We are fire. And we are coming. The transmission was banned on several alien networks. The Galactic Accord labeled it extremist. But it spread like wildfire anyway. On Terran networks, it was played on loop. Schools closed early. Factories retooled overnight. Military enlistment surged by 400%. And in the frozen shipyards of Saturn's orbit, a massive hull stirred under automated floodlights. No name. No registry. Just 3 words engraved along its bow. We do not forgive. The galaxy had mistaken humanity's patience for cowardice. That illusion shattered at Idon Ridge, and in the cold, infinite dark beyond the stars, something ancient stirred in the human soul. Not survival. Not justice. Rage. For 27 days, Earth said nothing. No demands. No retaliation. No warnings. The Galactic Accord mistook the silence for mourning. After all, humans were emotional creatures, grief-stricken, erratic, easily pacified with apologies and token gestures. Verkar laughed in his war halls, watching the silence stretch like a yawn across the stars. But deep in the orbit of Saturn, beneath the icy crust of Titan's largest moon, the silence was not grief. It was preparation. In the forgotten depths of the Titan shipworks, where sunless halls echoed with whispers from a colder era, something old had awakened. Massive hangars, sealed for 100 years, groaned open. Robotic arms hummed as they pieced together angular dreadnoughts cloaked in obsidian armor. War engines older than any Jaitil technology powered back online, their AI cores singing in dead Terran tongues. No insignias marked the hulls. No diplomatic transponders blinked. These ships were built not to be recognized, but to be feared. At the center of it all stood Admiral Syra Halden, commander of the Terran Black Command. Her eyes were sleepless, her uniform unadorned. The Order of Accord had once expelled her for philosophical brutality. Now she was back in command, at humanity's request. At her side, the Vindicator Corps, a strike team so secret their existence was considered myth. Codenamed Ghost, Spectre, Echo, and Ash, each had been pulled from exile, prison, or cryosleep. Humanity didn't want diplomats. It wanted monsters of its own. "They burned our children," Halden said as she stood before them, her voice low and steady. "Now we burn their legacy." The crew of the UNS Black Vow, first of the new class Dread Phantoms, received no orders from Earth Command. Their destination was not logged in any public registry. The only directive came in 6 words: find them, break them, end them. Elsewhere, the Accord's High Council convened. Species argued in hushed tones, uncomfortable with Verkar's excesses, but unwilling to oppose him. A diplomatic mission was proposed, an apology drafted, half-hearted and cold. Meanwhile, humans withdrew from the Accord entirely. Earth's ambassador handed in his resignation personally, then sent a final message to the Council. There will be no tribunal. This is no longer a matter of law. It is a matter of memory. When the Jatil scouted Earth's outer colonies, they found only empty stations, fortified moons, and silent transmissions looping the single image. The charred ruins of Iden Ridge, framed by the words, "You have awakened something you cannot contain." And then, from the edge of known space, a deep space relay flickered with an unauthorized burst. It originated from a black site no one had used in centuries. At first, it seemed like a glitch, until analysts decrypted the final frame. A silhouette, human, armored in black, standing alone aboard a destroyed Jatil cruiser. And this message, voice-modulated, cold and terrifying. Greater than one world for 12 million. Greater than what's the price of a species. The galaxy had expected tears. It got silence. And now, it would learn what comes after. Verkar's command moon, Drajnutul, was a fortress carved from a hollowed asteroid the size of Manhattan. Armored with neutron plating, surrounded by defensive rings, and protected by a standing fleet of 9 warcruisers, it had never been breached. Until the humans came. No warning, no declaration, no visible approach. Just one night, the moon trembled, and then began to die. It started with the lights. Entire sectors went dark. Then the oxygen scrubbers failed, suffocating hundreds of Jatil soldiers in their sleep. Defense systems looped into madness, mistaking friendly ships for enemies. Fire spread through the core vents. And then came the sound. Not explosions, not screams, but a human lullaby. Old Earth, something from before the stars. A child's voice, calm and haunting, echoing through the internal comms. Greater than hush now, quiet now. It's time to lay your head. Jatil soldiers clawed at their ears. Some turned their weapons on themselves. Others fled into vacuum chambers, hoping death would come before the humans did. By the time the Black Vow decloaked just beyond the moon's shadow, there was nothing left to fight. Drajnutul hung broken, its atmosphere bleeding into space. The warcruisers sent to defend it. Gone. Scattered debris drifting in silence. Inside the ruins, the Vindicator Corps moved like phantoms. Spectre and Echo breached the War Council chamber and found Verkar's inner circle, strangled, impaled, eviscerated. Their bodies were arranged in a circle around a holo projection of Iden Ridge. Ghost left no survivors in the intelligence wing. He didn't need to. He uploaded one file to every Jatil network, video of the atrocities committed at Iden. Then a list of those responsible, each name punctuated with a new image. The exact manner of their death. Personal, deliberate, human. When Accord drones arrived to assess the destruction, they found one survivor, a junior Jatil engineer, half-mad with terror, repeating a single phrase over and over in broken Galactic standard. Greater than they didn't speak. They didn't even speak. The Accord tried to reach Earth for answers, but their messages were blocked. Every human comm relay responded with the same auto signal. Recompense in progress. Do not interfere. Across the galaxy, panic spread like wildfire. Jatil colonies fortified their skies. Mercenary guilds refused Jatil contracts. Trade convoys were rerouted away from human territory. A legendary pirate crew that had once raided Terran supply lines posted a galactic bulletin. We will not hunt humans. Not now. Not ever. Good luck, Jatil. Ray Solon, recovered and rearmed, now led the Black Vows campaign. No medals. No speeches. Her orders were few. Greater than every name on the list dies. We don't stop until the last echo fades. And still, Earth remained quiet. No parades, no victory broadcasts, only the quiet hum of black holes slicing through the void. The rage had found its voice, and now it was singing. It began with whispers. On fringe planets, in asteroid taverns, in the hidden halls of mercenary outposts, humans were no longer seen as emotional outliers of the galaxy. They had become something else. Something worse. They don't talk, a captured Jatil officer told his interrogator. They don't demand. They don't negotiate. They just appear, like a shadow behind your eyes, and when they're gone, so are you. Entire fleets began vanishing. Not in battle. Not even in transit. Just gone. The Jatil 7th Armada, boasting 3 dread carriers and a planetary assault group, failed to report from the Goric expanse. Days later, their ships were discovered drifting in a perfectly organized formation near a dwarf star. The crews were dead, but untouched. No blood, no wounds. Each captain's body had been posed at their own command stations, helmets shattered inward. A Terran flag had been burned into the floor. No words, no symbols, just the old Earth standard of a blue sphere wrapped in laurel. It was no longer war. It was ritual. In the Accord chambers, fear replaced diplomacy. Representatives of non-human species began avoiding eye contact when humans entered the room. Entire systems filed neutrality pacts with Earth, desperate to be excluded from the wrath. Earth said nothing. A syndicate of merchants tried to send a shipment of stolen Terran tech to a Jatil black site. That convoy was found 3 days later, floating in low orbit above their homeworld. 20 ships lined up in a spiral, hulls carved with the same message. Greater than we don't forget. We don't forgive. Even the AI networks of advanced species began reprogramming protocols to avoid antagonizing humans. One diplomatic construct, upon being asked to simulate a Terran retaliation model, forcibly shut itself down. Meanwhile, inside the Terran dreadnought Oblivion Crown, Admiral Syra Holden Wash reports flood in. Her officers no longer wore service medals. They bore coded kill sigs on their armor, each one a name crossed off Ray Solon's list. Syra turned to her war analyst, a hybrid AI named Halcyon. "Are we monsters yet?" she asked. The AI paused, then replied, "The galaxy believes so. And belief is power." On the former Jatil capital of Kovor, riots erupted. Civilian populations demanded their leaders surrender. The military responded with force. By the end of the week, Kovor was in civil war, and humanity hadn't fired a single shot. Across the stars, children from alien species began playing a new game. Don't wake the human. The rules were simple. You pretend to sleep until one kid pretends to cry. The game ends when someone starts screaming. The Accord summoned Earth for talks. Earth sent a pre-recorded message. Greater than we warned you. We showed you kindness. You called it weakness. Now, you witness consequence. And still the list wasn't finished. Still the ships moved, quiet and unstoppable, like fate with thrusters. And still, in the shadow of human silence, the galaxy trembled. They called it the Year of Fire without flame. No wars were declared, no territories claimed. And yet, Entire fleets, stations, and empires collapsed beneath a silent assault that carried no banners, no speeches, only precision, vengeance, and silence. The Jatil Empire, once the iron spine of the Galactic Accord, now fractured under its own fear. Their outposts fell not to invasion, but to mutiny. Captains refused to answer distress calls. High-ranking officers flowed into deep space, changing identities, hiding among primitive worlds. It didn't help. The Vindicators always found them. One by one, Ray Solin's list burned shorter. Every name a chapter of retribution. Every strike broadcast through encrypted Terran-only feeds, unshared, uncelebrated. There were no medals, no monuments, just justice. The Galactic Accord, paralyzed by fear, finally shattered under the weight of its cowardice. Core member species pulled out, fearing Earth more than they trusted bureaucracy. The once golden halls of the Accord Council sat empty, a mausoleum of failed diplomacy. Some pleaded for truce. Others sent envoys with apologies too late, too hollow. Earth rejected them all. Instead, Earth broadcast a message across every frequency, every ship, every world. A slow, steady reading of the names of the dead from Idon Prime. One by one. No emotion. No edits. 12 million voices, spoken by a calm, synthetic voice, echoed across the void. Greater than Aelis Dorn, age 5, vaporized in schoolyard. Greater than Kayla Myron, age 67, found shielding grandchildren. Greater than Solon, Alyra, age 9, crushed beneath rubble, hand reaching out. For 11 days, the reading continued without pause. It was unskippable, unblockable. Tech from every species failed to mute it. Midway through, the broadcast cut to Ray Solon, standing alone in black armor aboard the Black Vow, face unreadable. Her voice was cold steel. Greater than you thought our pain was weakness. You mistook our restraint for fear. But now, you understand. We do not rage blindly. We rage with memory. We rage with purpose. She stepped back. Behind her, 12 Terran dreadnoughts hung in low orbit over the last surviving Jatil stronghold. Varnak's Cradle, a planet-wide fortress buried in layers of plasma shielding and orbital cannons. Ray raised a hand. Execution begins. No one watched the bombardment. No one needed to. Varnak's Cradle didn't just fall. It ceased. One moment, it was a planet. The next, a silent, glowing mist where it had been. The weapons used were unnamed, unregistered, and perhaps unrepeatable. And just like that, the Jatil Empire ended, not with a negotiation, but with erasure. The galaxy reeled. Worlds declared neutrality overnight. Others pledged allegiance to Earth without being asked. Ancient empires bowed to a species they once mocked as primitive, because they now understood. Earth did not seek war. It delivered judgment. And still, no celebration came from the humans. No victory parades, no speeches, only silence, only the echo. The Jatil were no more. Their symbols were erased from galactic records. Their language fell from official databases. Planets they once ruled were left unclaimed, avoided like cursed ground. What survived of their culture was scattered, hunted, ashamed, and silent. And yet Earth made no claim. They did not seize territory. They did not demand tribute. Their fleets simply turned and vanished into the black, each dreadnought disappearing without so much as a farewell. The Black Vow went dark. The Vindicators vanished. Admiral Halden and Ray Solon were listed as inactive. No one knew what became of them. Some said they retired. Others believed they were kept in cryo, waiting, in case the stars ever forgot again. The galaxy, however, would never forget. In the aftermath, alien empires rewrote their laws, not to govern humans, but to avoid provoking them. Fear became policy. Respect became survival. Children were taught human history alongside basic etiquette. Never lie to a human, never strike first, and never, ever threaten their young. Alien philosophers struggled to define what humanity had become. Some called it the Wrath Doctrine. Others whispered of emotional warfare. But the term that stuck, etched into galactic psychology, was simple: the echo. It referred not to the war, nor the fire, nor the death. It referred to what came after. That weight, that memory, that silence. On neutral worlds, statues were built, not of heroes, but of a child reaching for a mother who would never come. Not to honor the dead, but to remind the living. Humanity never authorized these memorials. They didn't need to, because Earth had moved on, quietly, firmly, unforgivingly. Instead of flaunting power, humanity expanded inward, building stronger defenses, better minds, deeper alliances. They offered aid to former enemies, built libraries where the Accord had once stood, and sent unmanned drones with messages of peace to the farthest, youngest civilizations. But always, just beneath the surface, lay the lesson. We remember. Every 20 years, the item reading was broadcast again. 12 million names. No music, no commentary, just memory, raw and undiluted. Mandatory for all human colonies, optional for the galaxy. Yet every time, trillions tuned in. Not because they were forced, but because they knew what forgetting would cost. Some still dared to hate humans, quietly, bitterly, but none dared to challenge them. Not anymore. For in the endless silence of space, in the dark between stars, in the quiet before hubris, there was always the sound, faint and ancient, the echo of a rage that did not burn out. It burned clean. And far beyond the last charted systems, on the edge of deep space, a beacon pulsed with quiet rhythm. No call for war, no threat. Just 3 words, repeated in every known language. We are watching. And the void watched back.